Anyone get an email warning you about committing your API key? Yeah. All right. So what we want to do is have a sign-in page. Show that when we're not signed in. Show main when we are. So let's make a new component. Capital S sign, capital I in.js. Import React from React. We're old pros at this. Let's make it a stateless functional component. Const sign in, capitalized the same way, equals arrow function. Before I forget, export default sign in. We're going to return some JSX. Let's return a div with a class of sign in. And how about we just put a big fat button in there? Sign in. Cool. So to see if this works at all, let's go to app.js. Let's import it. Import sign in from ./sign in. And for the moment, I'll just replace main with sign in and see what happens. Yay, there it is. There's my button. All right, good. Step in the right direction. But the idea is we want to show sign in if we're not signed in. Show main if we are signed in. So state probably needs to change when we sign in. We don't know how sign in works. We don't know how we're going to do the whole authentication thing. But if we just decide, signing in is going to update state. Then we can do it that way. So where does that state need to be? This is the thing that's going to decide whether we show sign in or main. So it probably needs to be an app, right? App is already a class, so that's good. So we could add a constructor, or we could just say state equals, either way. And let's just store a UID in there, a user ID. And it's going to start out as null. When you sign in, it's going to set the UID in state. You sign out, it's going to unset it. So I'll make a function called handleAuth, a method. Make an arrow function using a property assignment. And I'll just say this.setState UID something, dstruce, whatever. We know this isn't real. We're just trying to get the whole sign in, sign out flow working. So then we probably want one for sign out. This.setState UID back to null. Let's pass handleAuth down to sign in. This dot handleAuth. Let's make our button. Okay, so we're getting past a prop now, right? So I'll destructure that, handleAuth. And my button, I will say onClick equals handleAuth. Let's look at my React DevTools. Let's look at app. Here's my app component. State, UID is null. Click the button. Not null anymore. Go us. So the big idea here is, if that's there, we show main. If it's not, we show sign in. How can we do this? A ternary. So if you want to do some conditional logic inside a component, that's actually a super common way to do it, yeah. You can't just put an if statement in there, because that's not an expression. But you could put a ternary, because that actually returns something. So here's the idea. We know we can put a JavaScript expression inside some curly braces, right? So what do we want to check? We just want to check whether this.state.uid is something. We could check that directly. I kind of like the idea of having a method called signed out or signed in that returns that thing. So signed in. I need parentheses. There we go. I'll just return this.state.uid. I feel like the fact that this is this.state.uid is like an implementation detail. And if you're looking at the condition down here, it's not super clear why you're checking it. But if you say this.signed in, it's clear what you're checking. It's clear why you're doing it. So you can put this.signed in, question mark, then the thing that we do if it's true. And if it's true, if we are signed in, then I want main. Else, colon, do this. That's hard to read, so a lot of times you'll see it this way. I like to do it this way. Oops. Maybe I indent these two. Totally allowed to put those line breaks in, and when you get used to seeing this, this now makes it pretty clear. This is my condition, signed in. This is what happens if it's true. This is what happens if it's false. It's just kind of a multi-line ternary. So if we're signed in, show main. If we're not, show the sign-in page. Does it work? Here we are. Here's my sign-in button. Click it. Yeah. So I have a sign-out method, but it's not being called anywhere yet. But I have $R here set to app. So I could say $R.signout. Sure enough, kicks me back out. Very nice. So let's pass sign out down to main. How's that? Sign out equals this dot sign out. We've already got a button here, right? It's in the sidebar. This one way down here. So in main, now we have a prop for it. This is an actual class, not a stateless functional component, so we get to our props how? This dot props, not through arguments. So it needs to go from main down to sidebar, right? Here's sidebar. Pass in sign out. This dot props dot sign out. Inside app, it's this dot sign out. Inside main, it's this dot props dot sign out. Inside sidebar, it's going to get passed in as a prop. This is a stateless functional component, so it'll be a key on that argument. We can use our destructuring here to get it out like that. So now it's just called sign out. And if all is well, our button down here, our sign out button, We can put on click equals just sign out. See what happens? Click, we're signed in. Click, we're signed out. Now sign in isn't really implemented. We haven't actually authenticated against anything, but we've got the flow working. Now we have it showing the sign in page and showing main, depending on a value from state. So if you don't know how you're going to do the rest of it, go ahead and get this part done, because they're actually kind of not related to each other. Cool. So handle authentication flow, even if we haven't actually implemented it yet. Questions? Really good example of conditional rendering here.